So let me tell you why, instead of celebrating this St. Patrick's Day, I'll be mourning my people and wearing all black all day long. March 17th, according to the Roman Catholic Church, is the feast of St. Patrick, which is widely celebrated in many countries as St. Patrick's Day. A day to wear all green, get drunk, and celebrate your Irish pride, even if you aren't Irish. And of course, a day to honor the man who allegedly drove the snakes out of Ireland. I'm sure you've all heard that. Like Christmas, St. Patrick's Day is often considered to be a secular holiday with no particular religious affiliation. But also like Christmas, St. Patrick's Day is, at its core, a religious holiday. And it is a holiday to celebrate a man who did all he could to rob the Irish people of their original faiths and dispose of those who would not convert. The details are a little fuzzy since it happened so long ago, but history tells us that St. Patrick was born Maewyn Succat, and also that Maewyn Succat lived in England until he was 16, where he was kidnapped by Irish slave traders and sold into slavery. After 6 years of slavery, Maewyn escaped, moving back to England. He then joined a ministry, placing himself under the teachings of a bishop named Saint Germain. Within several years, Maewyn became a priest. Eventually, Maewyn decided that he wanted to return to Ireland to convert the pagan, Druid, and Celtic people to Christianity. So he traveled to Rome, where he got the blessing of Pope Celestine, who gave him the Christian name Patriticus, which then became Patrick. And this is the part where Patrick drives the snakes out of Ireland, as you've probably heard it said. Snakes have never existed on the island of Ireland, but Celtics, Druids, and pagans did, and snakes are a sacred symbol. Patrick preached fear among the pagans, telling them that if they did not convert, they would burn for eternity in hell. Patrick perverted many symbols of paganism, preaching that they belonged to God and twisting them to be gods rather than to belong to the pantheon of pagan gods and goddesses. One such symbol that Patrick butchered is the shamrock, which is now one of the symbols that is most commonly associated with St. Patrick's Day. The legend goes that Patrick picked a shamrock from beneath his feet when preaching to pagans one day and told them that the 3 leaves represented the 3 aspects of Christianity: Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. He did this to try to explain Christianity further to the pagan people, even though those people already had their own spirituality. Because things weren't very well documented in this time period, it's hard to determine whether some of these things are just myths and legends that have evolved over time, or whether or not they're actually hard fact. Regardless of whether or not the moment with the shamrock actually took place, these ideals of conversion are what we celebrate when we celebrate St. Patrick's Day. Unfortunately, in part, St. Patrick was largely successful with his tactics of fear and appropriation, and did manage to convert a large part of Ireland to Christianity. The pagan Irishmen were a pre-literate or mostly illiterate culture, and because history is written from the perspective of the winner, a lot of the details, like numbers of people converted, numbers of people murdered, and some of Patrick's specific teachings, have been lost in the sands of time and are now a source of much controversy. The road of violence, misunderstanding, and discrimination against pagan people is a long one, and it doesn't only belong to Patrick. I'm sure you've heard of the Salem witch trials, where people were hanged, burned, and crushed to death for being suspected of paganism. So this St. Patrick's Day, while the rest of the world wears green, shares images of shamrocks on Facebook, and gets drunk, I will be wearing all black and mourning the discrimination against my people that has stemmed from so much fear and misunderstanding. Regardless of the slightly foggy historical details, Patrick is a symbol of the conversion of pagans to the way of Christianity, often by brutal and oppressive force, both inside and outside the boundaries of Ireland. St. Patrick's Day is a day that celebrates a man who is a symbol of murder, genocide, and loss of indigenous spirituality. So this St. Patrick's Day, think before you celebrate.